Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the number one source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance and get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter. Hey, fine folks, this is Freedom Fighter, and welcome to Saturday Night Dialogues. It is September the 20th, 2025. Folks, tonight our topics are going to be, first and foremost, we're going to go over Iraq, and we're going to bring you a update from Iraq that recently just came out this week on a membership partnership that they're looking to receive with an international agency, all right, international bank, which is very telling of where Iraq is moving towards. Secondly, Vietnam and their latest update as well. We're going to go into depth on the exchange rate for Vietnam and how it will be determined. That leads us to number 3. We're going to bring you a FOREX update as well. Last but not least, a FOREX update. We're going to show you from FOREX a specific currency and the update on it. And we're going to give it to you in detail so you can hopefully understand it, so that you understand a little more the investment that you are in. Directly from FOREX. Goldilocks shared it during the week. We're going to bring it to you tonight and help you along the way. It's very important that you pay attention to everything that you may even have to listen to this call more than once, because the details that you're going to get tonight are very much in depth, probably more so than some of the other calls. Let's get into some prayer and jump on in. Father God, we always give you honor, glory, and praise. We thank you. Without you, we would not be here. We wouldn't have life. We wouldn't have breath. We thank you for the ups, the downs, the challenges, the wins, the successes, and the failures, because it's the lessons that you present through all of that, which enables us to make a choice to either move forward or fall back. But we are very grateful, Father God, for all that you have presented. We thank you not only for what you have done, but what you will do for each and every one of us. We thank you for being able to comprehend this information, to receive it, because we know that we're a very small number in the large scheme of things in the community. But you have bestowed upon us the wisdom, the knowledge and understanding to be able to bring it forth to the people who were ready to receive it. We thank you, we glorify you, and we honor you. In your name we pray. Amen. All right, folks, let's get into some quick announcements. Goldilocks QFS Dialogues Room, of course, is a read-only room now. But that is where there is a library of knowledge and information that's been presented by Goldilocks, Wiley, myself, and the tribe. That is where, if you are late to establishing relationships with the actual bankers, you can go into that room and you can get the 8 steps. You can get all of what you need. Hit the search bar for any and all information you need regarding this blessing. That is the room, the Goldilocks QFS Dialogues Room. Then we have Dee's room. Dee's room is where she drops articles as well from around the globe, what's happening in the global financial system. Then we have the Crypto Finance Room with Dave Rose Big Dog. You can go there. If you have questions on crypto, they'll be more than happy to help you in the Crypto Finance Room. Then we have Goldilocks Global Banking News, your daily podcast where we bring up to date, live and direct, the updates by Goldilocks on what's transpiring on a daily basis regarding the RV. There is so much coming out now. It's folks, just make sure, as Wiley, myself, and we've been stressing so much for you all to do, is to make sure you establish those relationships with the bankers. So Goldilocks Global Banking News, folks, do not miss an episode. Make sure you like, share, subscribe to the channel. Hit your notifications so that you do not miss when we drop the podcast every single day. Goldilocks Global Banking News is we're touching almost 20,000 in subscribers now. We're right almost there, and right on the doorstep of 1.9 million views. We're at now 82 countries worldwide, and it's rapidly growing. So make sure you do not miss anything. Of course, we have, I believe Wiley is here tonight. Peculiar Ram is going to be reading our articles. And folks, I'm just thinking of something when I think of our updates tonight on Iraq, on Vietnam as well, and then into FOREX. I think of where we're at right now with this blessing. And I think of it as a destination. Many of us have different desires and destinations, whether it be wealth, whether it be health, whether it be the destination beyond the human realm to the heavenly realms. We all have a destination, but there's something that always occurs. And I think about this, that before we reach our destination, the enemy, you can say it's the devil, whatever it may be, sends 3 different spirits to change your destination. We're getting close to the destination, folks. If your destination is to be able to exchange, we're getting closer. And the closer we get, there's going to be 3, the enemy sends 3 spirits. Number 1, the spirit of desperation. These are spirits that can change your destination. Desperation can change your destination. The number 2 spirit that the enemy often sends is temptation. Temptation can change your destination. If your destination is to exchange your currency and have wealth, temptation can come and alter it. So we have desperation, number 1, temptation, number 2, frustration. Number 3, frustration is another spirit that often comes right before you reach your destination, and it can change and alter your destination. So that's desperation, temptation, and frustration often change your destination right before you get close. Many of you may feel desperate. And desperate people do desperate things. Some of you are in desperate situations because of what you believe, what you follow, what you heard. Many of you have temptation to do and say things and search for things that may make you feel as if you are close to the destination, but then you end up being distracted and thrown off. That's temptation. Then you have frustration because you thought you were there. You were told you reached the destination, and then you're told, oops a daisy, there was a delay. Then you get frustrated. That's frustration. Understand and know those are three spirits the enemy will send your way: desperation, temptation, and frustration, to throw you off and alter you from reaching your destination. Many of you who have been following Goldilocks, Wiley, myself, and the tribe, you may have been there. Now you no longer, because of your relationships and your understanding of how this really works, this opportunity, you no longer have that desperation. You don't no longer have temptation to click and pay for things that don't even make sense. And you no longer have the frustration. You have peace. So just be mindful, folks, that the closer we get to the destination, those spirits, they're going to come. All right. So let's get into Wiley. If you're here, did you want to add anything before we get started? You want to say anything? I thought I saw Wiley here.
Nah, I'm good. Freedom, go ahead.
Okie dokie. Peculiar Ram, young lady, if you can come to the front.
Good evening.
Good evening, young lady. Give me 2 seconds.
All righty. Hi, guys. How's everybody doing? Welcome to Saturday Night Dialogues with Freedom Fighter and Peculiar
Thank you
Ram.
for
Oh,
thank
okay.
you for filling in. Thank you for great job. Thank you for filling in. The
You're welcome.
cordless phone battery was beeping. I don't want y'all to hear that. I put it on the charger, but you did a great job filling in. Awesome.
All good.
Yes. Did you have a chance? I'm not sure if you had a chance to see everything I know you saw all the articles. I don't know if you read them all, but it's gonna be, folks. Okay, excellent. It's gonna be very detailed, folks. So pay attention. Try to make sure you have no distractions whatsoever. This is going to be very detailed for you tonight. All right, let's get right into it, young lady. Let me do as always. We're going to start off with the foundation of all of it, folks. How the RV will come about, who is leading the charge, what is being done in order for the RV to come into fruition, and we're going to show you, as always, tonight, how it's coming, how it's developing, and who, meaning countries and currencies, are involved. Okay, young lady, floor is yours.
Currency revaluation is likely to be a priority for some members of a potential second Trump administration, mainly because of the viewpoint that an overvalued dollar contributes to the trade deficit, said one former Trump administration official, adding that Lighthizer and his team are the primary advocates for the approach. But weakening the dollar could have other far-reaching consequences, from sending consumer prices for imported products soaring to inviting retaliation from other countries and threatening the dollar's role as the world reserve currency, which would undermine U.S. sanctions on adversaries like Iran and Russia.
Boom. Folks, just so that you're aware, some of you, this may be the first time you've heard this, but what Peculiar Ram just read is from an article that was leaked from Politico last year, April, where the inside of the Trump administration officials that stated that currency revaluation is likely to be a priority for some members of the second Trump administration due to an overvalued dollar, which contributes to the trade deficit. Folks, this is why President Trump, when he came into office, within this first week, he's been talking about tariffs at the 80s, but he began to implement what needed to be done in order to hit countries with tariffs, because that would help to eliminate the trade deficit, but also weakening of the dollar. You would naturally think that weakening of the dollar would be a bad thing for the U.S. Nope, it's not. We're moving into a new digital asset-based banking system whereby gold and other commodities and precious metals will be back in our currencies. And also with the trade, with the tariffs are creating and will continue to create profit to the United States, therefore eliminating in due time the deficit. Therefore, also, just because the dollar is getting weaker, well, we're reducing the deficit as well. The amount of the dollar doesn't need to be as strong. In reality, folks, the US dollar is over inflated. It's really less than $1 in reality. And that's okay. For many of you listening to this, it wouldn't even matter to you because you have foreign currencies from which you would be able to exchange and be wealthy. All right. So this is the cornerstone. This is the foundation of how this is directly from the Trump administration that it is his. Now think about this, Peculiar Rand. If this is saying that currency revaluation is likely to be priority of the second Trump administration, how could it have been delayed for the last 20 years? Okay, I just asking, just thinking out loud.
It's a rhetorical question, guys.
Yes. Rhetorical question. The last 20 years, every weekend. Yes, rhetorical question for the last delays for every weekend for the last 20 years. But anyway, so folks, now we're going to get into Iraq. I know I hurt some feelings there. I don't mean to. But the Bank of International Settlements, there are several international agencies, folks, that oversee and are a part of the mechanisms for all countries around the world and the currencies to move. Number one, the Bank of International Settlements, the BIS. Number two, the U.S. Treasury Department. Number three, the World Bank. Number four, the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. So here we have Iraq, the Bank of International Settlements, and what Iraq has requested. Then we're going to get into Vietnam and the International Monetary Fund and what the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, has recommended for Vietnam to do with the Dong. So the BIS, I'm going to repeat this, 4 major agencies that oversee all countries and their currencies, all central banks. The BIS, which is the Bank of International Settlements, we're going to get into them. We're right with Iraq first. The IMF, International Monetary Fund, in Vietnam. And then, of course, World Bank and the U.S. Treasury. Let's get right into what Iraq just requested from the Bank of International Settlements. Folks, the Bank of International Settlements, if I can describe, this is the Central Bank of Iraq, of course, is the Central Bank of Iraq. The Federal Reserve is the central bank in the United States. The Central Bank of Vietnam, which is called the State Bank of Vietnam, is the Central Bank of Vietnam. Think of all of the current countries and currencies from which we hold. They all have a central bank that governs those currencies, meaning they oversee those currencies. Well, all of those central banks have a dotted line. Think of an organization chart like in corporate America. Those central banks, Iraq, Vietnam, US, and others, they have a dotted line boss, if you will, central bank that they don't answer to, but they receive guidance from. And that's the Bank of International Settlements that oversees all currencies around the world. Let's go right into this, young lady.
While a formal announcement of Iraq joining the Bank for International Settlements, the BIS, has not yet been made, recent news indicates the country is taking concrete steps towards the membership. In September,
what happened, beautiful? One second, beloved. So what happened, folks? Iraq requested, they actually submitted a formal request to join the Bank of International Settlements. This is like if you have the board, like a board of a bank, and I think of Lady Unique. She was asked by literally a tier 1 bank. She was asked to be on their advisory board, to become a member of their board. And she declined, just so you know. She told them she was too busy. She had other things to be focused on. but it's right. So, but with that membership, if Lady Unique would have accepted that role, she would have had some responsibilities. She would have had some cachet. She would have had, she would have been in the loop, if you will. Well, you know what? She's still in the loop. She got Goldilocks and Wiley, so she's more in the loop than the banks. The banks be asking Lady Unique for advice. So Iraq requesting membership is Iraq wants to be a member of the Bank of International Settlements, which, folks, ladies and gentlemen, they oversee all currencies around the world, including the Iraqi dinar. This is a major step to request this. But go ahead, young lady, you can continue. In September
2025, the governor of the Central Bank of Iraq requested the Bank of England's support for Iraq's BIS membership bid. For Iraq, joining the Bank of International Settlements would be a significant step in its reintegration into the global financial system after years of isolation. The move signifies a commitment to international financial cooperation, stability, and transparency.
Absolutely, folks. So Iraq has been making several moves as far as reforms, as far as changes to the banking system, in order to prepare for the revaluation, not just only for the revaluation of the Iraqi dinar, but mainly just for the strengthening of their economy, to prepare for the international integration, which, of course, a byproduct would be the strengthening of the Iraqi dinar. This request that they've made to become a member of the Bank of International Settlements, they will not do this. They will not request to become a member of the Bank of International Settlements, and then if they are accepted, I don't see them having a poo-poo rate, because this would mean that they have international class and status. This, folks, just so you're aware, don't look at this as being, I gotta say this because I know how some people have been conditioned. Don't think of this as being something that they must do to revalue their currency. No, not at all. This is just an addition to various things that Iraq is doing in order to strengthen the dinar. This is just one of the many things that they are doing to not only strengthen the dinar, but to strengthen themselves internationally. All right, let's continue.
The big green flag. Significance of joining the Bank of International Settlements. Joining the BIS would allow Iraq to achieve several critical objectives. Enhance international financial standing. Gaining membership in a premier global institution for central banks would boost Iraq's reputation and signal its adoption of international best practices. This can make it easier to attract foreign investment and participate in global financial markets.
1 second, beloved. This could make it easier to attract foreign investments and participate in global financial markets. What have we just been sharing that Vietnam has been doing for so long, for the last several months? Attracting foreign investments, foreign direct investors. Again, Iraq and Vietnam doing the same thing at the same time. Go ahead, young lady.
Strengthen banking oversight. BIS membership entails cooperation on financial stability and regulation. By aligning its practices with BIS standards, Iraq can strengthen its banking sector, improve anti-money laundering measures, and increase confidence in the Iraqi financial system. This is especially crucial given recent U.S. crackdowns on illicit dollar transactions involving Iraqi banks.
So what Iraq is trying to do here, folks, is to separate themselves, to show to the U.S. and to the world that they believe that they are ready to have an international standing. They're trying to show the world that they are ready. Go, young lady. Access, expertise, technology.
Access, expertise, and technology. The BIS acts as a hub for central bank cooperation and research. Membership would give the CBI access to the BIS's expertise and programs, including its work on financial innovation, digital currencies, and payment systems.
Digital currencies.
This would help modernize Iraq's banking and financial technology infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
Diversify foreign reserve management.
Mm-hmm.
The BIS offers banking services and sophisticated asset management for member central banks. This would provide Iraq with an additional, highly reputable avenue for managing a portion of its foreign reserves, which are currently held partly in the Bank of England.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Reduce reliance on the U.S. financial system. Iraq's financial system currently has a high degree of reliance on the U.S. Federal Reserve for dollar-based transfers, a system created after the 2003 invasion. Joining the BIS and implementing international standards could help the CBI diversify its international payment routes and reduce some of this dependency.
So you see, folks, what's happening is Iraq is making several attempts to separate itself from the U.S. Federal Reserve. They've been doing so for the last several years, specifically in from January the 1st, 2024, when they completely stopped utilizing the U.S. dollars for all of their trade, all their imports. Now, the only usage of the U.S. dollar is their oil transactions, which is through the bank account for those oil transactions is through the Federal Reserve. Well, the BIS oversees the Federal Reserve and all central banks. So this is just another way, just in addition to what Iraq is attempting to do to get a foothold into the international global banking system. Go ahead, young lady.
Context of Iraq's economic reforms. Iraq's push for BIS membership is part of a broader, long-term strategy to reform its economy and financial sector.
Boom, boom, boom. So, folks, what's happening, again, the Bank of International Settlements provides resources, technology, assistance, cachet to any member country or member bank that is a member of them. Iraq would not request to become a member of the Bank of International Settlements if they didn't feel as if they would qualify. This is very telling. We're going to continue to watch this again, but this is not something that they need to revalue the currency, because I know many of you are always looking for, what is that thing? What is that switch? This is not it. It's not necessary. All right. I got to tell you, because
Gotta throw it out there.
I got to throw it out there, because we know. All right. Now, Goldilocks has been sharing for quite some time. And we've talked about it on the call. We've shared it consistently throughout the week. At the times when Goldilocks posted it on the Article 4 consultation from the International Monetary Fund. So just remember, the four agencies, BIS, four agencies that oversee all currencies, folks, because of all central banks. The Bank of International Settlements, we just got on Iraq. International Monetary Fund, IMF. Now we're going to touch on with Vietnam. But the Article 4 consultation, this is where the IMF offers technical assistance, financial assistance to all countries around the world and their central banks. The IMF and the BIS are sort of lockstep and key, side by side, overseeing all of the central banks and all of the currencies. I'm going to repeat that. All of the currencies the IMF oversees. Every single country around the world and their currencies. All right. So the Article 4 consultation is like exactly as it says, it's a consultation where they give the resources to Vietnam. They gave the resources to Vietnam. They gave the resources to Iraq. Iraq had an Article 4 consultation as well. All of this was to prepare each country to be in alignment with the new digital banking system and the new digital asset banking system that went live on July 1st. IMF has been working with Iraq and Vietnam and other countries for the last 4 years to get them prepared for the new digital asset-based trading system that went into effect on July 1st. And a part of that, folks, is recommendations of what to do with their currencies. See, because the IMF, being that they oversee all currencies in all countries around the world, they have the expertise and the best practices that they can share with one country and the other. The IMF utilizes a global consulting firm by the name of Oliver Wyman. That Oliver Wyman, which is a global consulting firm, folks, not an individual, shares best practices. So, for example, Oliver Wyman is actually a consulting firm that also works with the United States. We know the United States is the creme de la creme of economies around the world. So Oliver Wyman goes to Iraq, Vietnam, and all those other countries and says, hey, look, these are the things that the U.S. has done in order to become strong throughout the world. Here, Vietnam, here, Iraq. These are the best. These are the practices that the U.S. has followed. You can do the same with your country and your currency. We will give you the resources to show you how to do it. And we will give you the recommendations called a consultation to show you, Iraq, how to strengthen your dinar, to show you, Vietnam, how to strengthen the dong. These are the reforms that you need to implement. These are the technologies that you need to implement. These are the practices you need to follow. These are the changes you need to make. These are the regulations and the laws you need to pass. That's included in the consultations. So now, last year, 2024, IMF did it for Iraq. Well, actually, since 2018, the IMF has done this for Iraq and Vietnam. Now here we have the IMF just this past week. They released their report on Vietnam and what they should do with the Vietnamese dong. Let's get right into it, young lady.
The IMF's 2025 Article 4 consultation with Vietnam provides insights into whether Vietnam is capable of raising the value of its currency, the Vietnamese dong. Based on the report and economic context, here's a concise analysis addressing this topic.
Here's a concise analysis, folks, on what the IMF, they know all currencies around the world because they're involved. So now they did an analysis, meaning that there's a mechanism, and they're making the recommendations to Vietnam on what to do with the Vietnamese dong and how. And this is pertaining to the raising of the value of the Vietnamese dong. Let's go, young lady.
Key points from the IMF consultation relevant to currency value. Number one, exchange rate policy and flexibility.
Now, what Kuriram is about to read, this next sentence, is a direct quote and recommendation from the IMF to Vietnam about the Vietnamese dong and raising its value. Let's go.
The IMF recommends increasing exchange rate flexibility to absorb external shocks, rather than relying heavily on foreign exchange reserves to defend the dong's value.
Okay, 1 second. I'm going to explain this, folks, and we're going to get into detail. We're going to explain a little more in a second about this, but I want to repeat this. The IMF recommended to Vietnam to increase exchange rate flexibility. This means to increase the flexibility in the exchange rate of the Vietnamese dong. In a little bit, we're going to go into detail of what that means as far as raising the value of the Vietnamese dong. Folks, this is a mechanism of how Vietnam will raise the Vietnamese dong. What the IMF is stating is to increase the exchange rate flexibly. And then we're going to see here in a little bit how Goldilocks does an amazing job of explaining why the IMF is recommending for them to increase the value of the dong and its flexibility. But also we're going to see here shortly why a quote unquote flipping of the switch, the IMF is saying, Vietnam, do not do that. Don't flip a switch. And then they say why. The IMF says increase the exchange rate in a flexible manner. Go ahead, young lady.
In 2024, the dong was at 25,485 per USD. End of period. And the IMF notes that reserves have declined to 83.1 billion, 2.4 months of import coverage, projected to fall further to 2.2 months in 2025.
Folks, the IMF, look how this is in depth. The numbers. Think of what goes behind. What does it entail to come up with an exchange rate? The IMF is giving you, and this is every country they did this for. It gives you the dynamics. It gives you the reserves of a country, how the reserves declined, what the current value is. Then they're going to talk about reforms. There's various mechanisms involved for a currency rate to be determined, which is ultimately determined by supply and demand, market determination. But go ahead, we're going to get into that. But nonetheless, IMF is telling Vietnam they should increase the value of their exchange rate, but do it in a flexible manner. Then, folks, in a little bit, we're going to go into FOREX. We're going to show you FOREX and the dong, and we're going to give you a little bit of details of that as well. Go, young lady.
A more flexible exchange rate implies allowing market forces to influence the dong's value, which could lead to depreciation under external pressures, like the U.S. tariffs, rather than deliberate appreciation. Controlled appreciation to raise the currency's value would require careful management to avoid harming export competitiveness.
Now, this is very important.
Oh,
1 second, beloved.
1
second, you're fine. See, this is in peculiar RAM. You're going to remember this. Folks, a more flexible exchange rate implies allowing market forces to influence the value of the dong, which could lead to depreciation under external pressure, meaning tariffs. Folks, depreciation means that this could decrease the value of the dong. The tariffs could decrease the value of the dong rather than a deliberate appreciation. So what the IMF is stating, a more flexible exchange rate implies the market will determine the value, which could lead to the value of the dong going down because of tariffs. However, controlled appreciation of the dong would require careful management, meaning that the Central Bank of Vietnam must carefully move the value of the dong up based on market forces. Because if they don't, if they just, and this last sentence tells you, controlled appreciation is a managed control of the rate to raise its value, which would require careful management by the Central Bank of Vietnam to avoid what? To avoid harmful export competitiveness. Because if they just, boom, flip the switch and raise the value of the dong to $9, $10, whatever the BS numbers you're hearing, it would, the IMF is telling you it will be harmful. Remember, because you ran what we were saying before, how if they were to just boom, put up, just poof, a big old rate, how it would destroy their economy?
Mm-hmm.
This is what the IMF is stating, folks. So how is it? I'm not going to ask that rhetorical question. Let's just continue. Number two.
Economic fundamentals. Strong growth. Vietnam's GDP grew by 7.1% in 2024 and is projected at 6.5% in 2025, driven by exports, which are 88.3% of their GDP in 2024, and FDI,
which is foreign direct investment. Remember, we just read the same thing from Iraq about foreign investment. That's what this is with Vietnam. FDI is foreign direct investment. Go ahead.
This resilience supports confidence in the economy, which could bolster the dong if paired with sound policies.
This resilience. So it's giving us numbers. The second economic fundamental to justify the value of the Vietnamese dong to go up, the IMF is telling you Vietnam's GDP grew by 7.1% last year, and it's projected to be 6.5% this year, driven by exports, which is 88% of the GDP. This resilience supports confidence in the economy. This resilience supports confidence in the Vietnamese dong. See, folks, there has to be a mechanism. There has to be a justification for a rate to begin to move. If there's no sound economic reforms, if there's no sound economic resilience, numbers, how can the value of a country's currency flip of the switch and then the rate go up? Men lie, women lie, numbers don't.
Exactly.
Folks, you have to have the numbers there for a currency to go up. The justification, the foundation. If not, it goes down. And we're going to show you in a little bit on FOREX why the Vietnamese dong for so long has had a poo-poo rate. Then we're going to show you the change in the rate that's happening now. Go ahead, young lady.
Current account surplus. A robust surplus, 6.6% of GDP in 2024, projected at 4% in 2025, reflects strong export performance, which can support current currency stability or appreciation by increasing foreign currency inflows.
So here we have another foundation, another concrete, strong justification for the value of the Vietnamese dong to go up. Their surplus, robust surplus, 6.6% of the GDP last year, 4% this year, creates current stability in the Vietnamese dong. So here we have more strengthening of the dong, more justification. This is why the IMF is telling Vietnam, you can increase the value of your currency in a flexible manner managed. Go, young lady. Inflation control. Inflation, folks. Inflation plays a part in a country's currency to be a justification for the value going up. Strong growth, current surplus, and inflation. Go ahead, young lady.
Inflation is moderate at 3.6% as of June 2025 and projected at 3.4% for 2025, below the government's 4.5% target. Stable inflation reduces pressure for depreciation and could support a stronger VND if monetary policy tightens. Reserves and external debt. Declining reserves and external debt at 29.1% of GDP in 2025 suggests limited room to actively defend or raise the dong's value through intervention, as reserves are relatively low compared to regional peers. For example, 3 to 4 months of import coverage is typical for emerging markets.
Number three, external pressures.
The IMF highlights risks from global trade uncertainties, particularly U.S. tariffs introduced in July 2025, which could reduce export demand and pressure the dong toward depreciation. Vietnam's export-led model, which exports at 87.3% of GDP in 2025, makes it sensitive to such shocks.
Boom, makes it sensitive to such shocks. Their large export-driven economy makes them sensitive to shocks. Okay, so now the IMF is saying you gotta realize there's cause and effect. There's problem, there's solution. The problem is for Vietnam, so many exports. So the IMF is suggesting that they raise the value of the dong but to do it in a managed, controlled float. That is the solution to the problem for such largely exports coming out of Vietnam. But we're going to see here how the IMF is suggesting for Vietnam to raise the value in a managed, controlled environment so that they don't damage their economy. Go, young lady.
Okay, 1 second. I'm sorry. I accidentally came. Okay, here we go. A stronger dong could hurt export competitiveness, which is critical for Vietnam's growth.
I'm gonna repeat this. A stronger dong. Think of this. The IMF is saying, Vietnam, a stronger dong could hurt export competitiveness, which is critical for Vietnam's growth. And folks, Vietnam, they have consistently grew their economy, their GDP for the last 25 some odd years, an average of 6 to 7%. They are shooting for their goal of 8% this year. So just poof, a big old ginormous rate, it would be critical to their economy. The IMF is saying this. This is why, folks, the relationships with your wealth advisors are so critical, because the rates that come out, they will be able to flip whatever you exchange. Turn your millions into multi-millions, your millions into billions, with proper preparation and planning with your advisors. Go, young lady.
The IMF's push for trade diversification, for example, to ASEAN or EU markets, aims to mitigate this, but doesn't directly support currency appreciation. Scrolling down, can Vietnam raise the dong's value? Short answer, yes. Vietnam has the capacity to raise the dong's value in the short term, but it's unlikely to be a priority given the IMF's recommendations and economic context. Here's why. Capacity for appreciation. Vietnam's strong economic fundamentals, the high growth, current account surplus, and controlled inflation provides a foundation for potential dong appreciation. The State Bank of Vietnam, the SBV, could intervene to strengthen the dong by selling foreign reserves or tightening monetary policy, but reserves are already stretched, 2.2 to 2.4 months of imports. Capital controls and a managed exchange rate regime give the SBV tools to influence the dong's value, though the IMF advises moving toward greater flexibility, which could limit such interventions.
Greater flexibility, which could limit such interventions. All that means, folks, is that the IMF is advising Vietnam to control the rate in a flexible manner and limit its control as far as having total control, but allowing the dong to be flexible is allowing market forces to determine the value of the Vietnamese dong. This is where flexibility, a flexible exchange rate, allows the dong to float up based on market forces instead of Vietnam themselves just jumping in and just arbitrarily coming up with a number on the Vietnamese dong, because it would damage their economy if they move too fast and too high with the rate. So now we're going to go into a little more detail to help you to understand constraints and trade-offs. This is where there's trade-offs. And this is from the IMF explaining how Vietnam will be able to raise the value of the Vietnamese dong through a floating regime for floating. And they're giving Vietnam the justification, and the numbers are telling you how and why they could. And they're saying why not to just raise the value of the dong arbitrarily. Doesn't make sense. Vietnam will not do that. No country. Well, the only country that will do that is Iraq. They will revalue their currency. They already let it be known. It will not float. The dinar. All the other currencies will. And here we have in writing from the IMF recommending to Vietnam what to do. Then we're going to see in a little bit on FOREX. It's exactly what's happening is what the IMF is suggesting to Vietnam to do. Go, young lady.
Constraints and trade-offs. Raising the dong's value could harm export competitiveness, a cornerstone of Vietnam's economy. Exports are projected to decline to 83.6% of GDP in 2026 due to tariffs, and a stronger currency would exacerbate this attempt. Reserve levels are not robust enough for a sustained intervention to appreciate the dong without risking external imbalances.
And this is why the IMF is suggesting to allow market forces to determine the value of the dong, to move it up, and to have a flexible exchange rate and allow it to float. And we're going to see that it's going to go into that next, of allowing the value and the rate to float, meaning to have it to manage the rate up versus just pushing a button. So instead of going from, I'm going to just use numbers, from 0 to 10, I'm just using this as an example, but to manage it to move up to whatever rate, whereby the market is the driving force of the rate. Go ahead, young lady.
The IMF's call for flexibility suggests depreciation may be more likely under external pressure. Financial sector risks like high corporate debt and real estate issues, and global uncertainties like the U.S. tariffs, tighter financial conditions, make aggressive currency appreciation risky, as it could strain domestic firms and reduce FDI attractiveness.
Which is foreign direct investments. Go ahead.
IMF's stance. The IMF's focus on exchange rate flexibility and structural reforms like diversifying trade, improving productivity, prioritizes long-term resilience over short-term currency appreciation.
So what the IMF is doing, folks, is they're recommending to Vietnam to focus on exchange rate flexibility, and we're going to show you exactly what that means, and structural reforms, which they've already implemented, diversifying trade, which they're already doing, and improving productivity, which they're already doing. Go, young lady.
A stronger dong could align with medium-term goals if reforms boost productivity and diversify trade, reducing reliance on exports and supporting domestic demand.
So this is whereby, folks, Vietnam, just like Iraq, is diversifying. They're not having all their eggs in one basket, if you will, where Vietnam just solely relies on exports, where Iraq just solely relies on oil. Because like in Iraq, 90% of their revenue comes from oil. That's the equivalent of having all your eggs in one basket.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why Iraq is also focused on foreign direct investment, foreign investment into their country. That's why they're focused on expanding to the BIS and all these in the World Trade Organization, so forth and so on. They want to expand to strengthen the value of the dinar. Vietnam, same thing they're doing right now to expand the value and the market of the Vietnamese dong. Go, young lady.
Implications as of September 15th, 2025. Given the consultation's recent conclusion on September 8th, Vietnam's authorities are likely assessing how to balance growth and stability amid U.S. tariffs and global volatility. Raising the dong's value could signal economic strength and attract capital, but it risks undermining exports and growth. The SBV is more likely to maintain a stable or slightly weaker dong to cushion external shocks, as implied by the IMF's advice to avoid heavy reserve intervention.
Mm-hmm.
For real-time signals, monitor SBV announcements or trade data for Q3 of 2025, which could show early tariff impacts. If Vietnam diversifies trade successfully or sees stronger than expected FDI, it could create conditions for gradual dong appreciation in the medium term, 2026 to 2027. However, immediate efforts will likely focus on stability rather than raising the currency's value. Bottom line, Vietnam has the economic fundamentals to support a stronger dong, but the IMF consultation suggests prioritizing exchange rate flexibility and structural reforms over deliberate appreciation, especially given external risks.
Folks, what deliberate appreciation is a flip of the switch.
Mm-hmm.
Vietnam has the economic fundamentals to support a stronger dong, but the IMF consultation suggests prioritizing exchange rate flexibility. What that is, folks, the IMF consultation suggests prioritizing floating the rate of the dong and structural reforms instead of deliberate appreciation or instead of flipping of a switch. Folks, there has never been a flip of the switch in Forex. It never did work that way, never will. There has to be fundamentals behind a rate of the currency to move. That's why the IMF has done this consultation. That's why the IMF has given all these percentages, all these numbers, all these recommendations to what their challenges are, how to overcome them, and then what they need to do in order to raise the value of their currency, float their currency. And we're going to get into next where the IMF explicitly says that. Well, and actually that's what this means when it says directly from the IMF, increasing exchange rate flexibility, that's floating the exchange rate of the dong. Good, young lady.
Short-term appreciation is possible, but not advisable without risking export-led growth. For further details, check SBV updates or the IMF's full staff report, if published, at imf.org.
And folks,
The
what
fact that
SBV is, the State
Go
Bank
ahead.
of Vietnam, that's their central bank. Go ahead.
The fact that Vietnam is willing to go international or resolve the above issue regarding their export-led growth concerns is in process. An upgrade in Vietnam's economy to emerging market status will allow them to move forward.
Now, so here we have the problem. Export more, mainly exports. That's a problem. We have another problem. The problem is they need something that's going to give them more strength and stability. When I say problem, I don't mean that it cannot be overcome. I just mean it's just there's a solution that can be added that helps to expand Vietnam to have a stronger appreciation or raising of the value of the dong through market forces. What is that solution? Here it is. What we're going to read to you next, what Goldilocks has been sharing that has been in the news lately is about the update of Vietnam's stock market anticipated to be on October 7th announcement by the FTSE Russell. And I'm going to read it for you. And this is directly from the finance minister of Vietnam, who met with the London Stock Exchange on September the 15th. This is what he said. Remember, for those who have been following Goldilocks for a while, you know what the FTSE Russell is and what it means to Vietnam and to Vietnam's growth and the dong's value to begin to move. Actually, folks, it's already moving, just so that you're aware. So let's get into it. Vietnam. This is a quote from the finance minister of Vietnam. Vietnam has met FTSE Russell's criteria for a stock market status upgrade from frontier to secondary emerging through reforms aimed at boosting foreign investment, according to the finance minister. So the finance minister, Minister Nguyen Van Thang, he stated in his meeting, with the London Stock Exchange, he said that Vietnam has already met their criteria for their stock market to be upgraded to an emerging market. Folks, we just need for the FTSE Russell to come out and state that themselves, which is expected on October the 7th, that they will announce whether or not Vietnam has met the qualifications to have their stock market upgraded. But again, I'm going to back up what Goldilocks is stating in the previous article. The fact that Vietnam is willing to go international to resolve the above issues regarding the export-led growth concerns is in process. An upgrade in Vietnam's economy to emerging market status will allow them to move forward. So this upgrade would resolve some of the concerns that the IMF has for Vietnam's economy, because this will grow and explode their economy like never before. To give more justification and the support for the market to determine the value of the Vietnamese dong and increasing in the rate of the Vietnamese dong through a float. Now, I'm going to continue. Speaking at a meeting with the London Stock Exchange on September the 15th, Thang, which is the finance minister's name of Vietnam, highlighted Vietnam's efforts to implement policies facilitating capital inflows. Okay, IMF said they needed to do this, and here we go. A government plan approved last weekend targets the upgrade of the FTSE Russell in 2025, requiring Vietnam to meet non-mandatory and 2 non-mandatory criteria based on market experiences and investor feedback. The finance minister of Vietnam at this meeting in London at the London Stock Exchange, he proposed deeper cooperation with the London Stock Exchange, focusing on improving legal frameworks, market supervision, corporate governance, ESG standards, and transparency. Vietnam also seeks to develop new financial products like green bonds and leverage technology such as fintech, AI, and blockchain. The LSE, which is the London Stock Exchange CEO, Julia Hoggett, expressed optimism about Vietnam's market potential and pledged support for the upgrade to emerging market status, emphasizing collaboration between the FTSE Russell, Vietnam's State Securities Commission, and the Vietnam Stock Exchange. So, folks, the Vietnam Stock Exchange is what should be technically upgraded to emerging market status. It's called the Vietnam Stock Exchange. There's a collaboration between the Vietnam Stock Exchange, the FTSE Russell, and Vietnam's State Securities Commission. That is the equivalent to our SEC, our Securities and Exchange Commission. So, just so you're aware, the Vietnam Stock Exchange, folks, is connected to the New York Stock Exchange, the London Stock Exchange as well. But on a minimum basis, if they are given the status upgrade to their stock exchange by the FTSE Russell, that means now that Vietnam's stock exchange and the Dong will now have a more global reach through the New York Stock Exchange, the London Stock Exchange, and others. So we're going to get into a little bit here of what those stock exchanges include and how the Dong will be able to move throughout the world and get stronger. I'm going to continue. A strategic MOU, which is Memorandum of Understanding, was signed. This was on September the 15th. An MOU was signed between the Vietnam Stock Exchange, which, folks, remember, the Vietnam Stock Exchange is what will be upgraded. Well, we anticipate will be upgraded to emerging market. So the MOU was signed between the Vietnam Stock Exchange and the FTSE International Limited to enhance market infrastructure and global integration. So we're waiting for the FTSE Russell to determine if they're going to upgrade Vietnam's stock market next month on October the 7th, but they signed an agreement already with Vietnam Stock Exchange on the 15th. It's not a contract, it's a memorandum of understanding. Sort of an agreement before an agreement. Next, Vietnam's stock market. Now, here we go. We're getting into numbers. Vietnam's stock market capitalization reached $352 billion by August of this year. Listen to this. That is almost 80%, that $352 billion that their stock market has already reached, their capitalization has reached this year, is almost 80% of its total GDP for last year, with trading values averaging 1.1 billion, making Vietnam one of Asia's most active stock markets. The FTSE Russell, which is part of the London Stock Exchange, manages indices, which is stocks for 94 of the 100 global asset managers. I want to pause there. Peculiar Ram, can you unmute? I'm going to ask you a quick question. Now, are you aware that your wealth management firm is an asset manager?
Yes.
And they're a global asset manager?
Yes.
And folks, many of the members that have been following Goldilocks and the guidance of Wiley and myself for the last year, you have those asset managers, which we can also say are wealth managers, they're all the same thing, bankers. So here we have FTSE Russell, part of the London Stock Exchange Group, manages stocks. I'm gonna just say stocks because it's layman terms. For 94 of the 100 global asset managers. Peculiar, I bet that one that you are with is one of them.
You know what? I'm curious now. I'm pretty sure, but it's so wild how it's directly linked to our journey and what we're doing with our asset managers. So if you're not paying attention, you better be, because I sure am. That's why I'm muted.
and for so many of you other beautiful tribe members who have your relationships, this is why Wiley and myself, we've been preaching this for the last year. This is why Goldilocks has been putting it out there to establish these relationships, folks, because now you're beginning to see the linkage. So I'm going to repeat the FTSE Russell, part of the London Stock Exchange Group, manages indices or manages stocks, the stock markets, for 94 of the top wealth managers, overseeing nearly $16 trillion in assets, and evaluating 47 countries' stock markets. This is why, Peculiar Ram, your wealth management firm and those newsletters that you've been getting now from your asset manager is showing you charts and also numbers related to various currencies and countries, emerging markets around the world.
Yep. Oh, wow. That's so dope.
Did the light bulb just go off?
Could you see it or feel it or hear it? Yeah, it kind of did.
This is why your asset manager, I know you got your newsletter, they've been showing your asset manager is one of the many global asset managers that are connected to all of this. And all of you tribe members that you're getting your updates now from your asset managers. They are all connected to this.
Nice. I mean, I knew it, but nice.
You're getting more confirmation. This is why, folks, for so many of you, you're getting your updates from your asset managers on what's happening in the emerging market, and you're getting the updates on where the firms are saying without saying, where they're advising without advising for people to invest and pay attention to. Your asset managers are all connected to these markets. So where several of you have mentioned your asset managers that have they manage $1 billion under management. Some that may manage $3 billion under management. Some where your asset managers are managing $500 million under management, so forth and so on. Well, you add all that up with all the rest of the asset managers, it comes out to $16 trillion in 47 countries that your asset managers that you have relationships with are connected to, all because you all decided to seek truth. You decided not to allow desperation, temptation, and frustration to alter your destination. You decided to pay attention, to no longer, many of you, to no longer focus on hype and hopium, but truth, even when it didn't seem popular. But now here you have your asset managers that will protect your assets in the new system. I couldn't help it. That slipped. No, it didn't. Now we're gonna get into floating exchange rates. So now we heard the IMF tell Vietnam Vietnam, it's in black and white. The IMF recommends, this is the recommendation to Vietnam, increase your exchange rate flexibility, Vietnam. Okay, so now let's get into what that means. Exchange rate flexibility, aka also known as floating exchange
rate.
The IMF recommended for Vietnam to float their exchange rate in a controlled, managed way, not to flip the switch because the commentators say it, flip the switch, because it would destroy their economy. Folks, it makes no sense.
Exactly.
Okay. Exchange rate flexibility, also known as a floating exchange rate, can enable a country's currency to rise in value or appreciate. Under this system, the currency's value is determined by the forces of supply and demand in the global FOREX market, rather than being pegged to another currency or an asset. So the reason why Peculiar Ram and various tribe members who have your relationships, this is why your asset managers are now sharing with you areas of investment that they are guiding their clientele towards, which is foreign currencies and emerging markets. Emerging markets. Vietnam is looking for their stock market to be upgraded by the FTSE Russell to a what? Emerging market. Well, hope y'all connecting these dots here. Key factors that drive the value of a currency up. Here it is. Several economic conditions can cause a currency to go up in value in a flexible exchange rate system. Number one, high interest rates. If a country's central bank raises interest rates, it attracts foreign capital, meaning foreign investors seeking higher returns on investments. The increased demand for the dong from these investors could cause its value, meaning cause the value of the dong to go up. Folks, that is called supply and demand. The demand goes up, so the rate goes up. The market now these foreign investors, they will move the value of the rate up, not pushing it up, but through the buying and the selling of the dong and investing in Vietnam. All of these countries, all of these investors, all of these companies that are flocking to Vietnam, all transactions will be done in the Vietnamese dong. Now think of the stock market. With the stock market, if they are so gracious to be upgraded next month to emerging market by the FTSE Russell, think of over 100 asset managers around the world that have $16 trillion in assets over 47 countries. All of that will be accessible to Vietnam. Thus, the justification for the movement and the rate of the dong to be flexible for a float. So strong economic performance. A robust and growing economy is attracted to foreign investors. This is Vietnam, folks. As foreign investors invest in the country's stocks, bonds, businesses, demand for the dong or that country's currency increases, driving the value of the dong up. Folks, this is how the currencies move up in rate. There must be sound fundamentals to support a rate going up. A rate doesn't go up because of so-called assets underground. If that was the case, all countries, if that was the case, the value of the dollar would be $10. We got the most gold. We got the most debt also. So the numbers have to make sense, folks. So another key factor for driving up the value of the dong or any other currency, political and economic stability. Can you imagine if a country was war-torn? How could the value go up? It wouldn't. Political and economic stability. Iraq and Vietnam is very strong political and economic stability now. Countries viewed as politically and economically stable are seen as safe havens by investors, especially during times of global uncertainty. Right now, folks, there's a lot of global uncertainty with tariffs. Investors are finding safe havens in what? Gold and foreign currencies. Why? Because those foreign currencies are backed by what? Gold.
Mm-hmm.
And the dollar is getting weaker, so countries and investors are flocking to foreign currencies and gold and shifting away from the U.S. dollar because the U.S. dollar is getting weaker.
But weakening the dollar.
But weakening. In fact, if you can do me a quick favor,
mm-hmm.
you can go ahead and read that again from the leak of the. Do that, because that I'm glad you said that. Go ahead and do that real quick. I'm going to mute while you do that. I'll be right back.
But weakening the dollar could have other far-reaching consequences, from sending consumer prices for imported products soaring to inviting retaliation from other countries and threatening the dollar's role as the world reserve currency, which would undermine U.S. sanctions on adversaries like Iran and Russia. So yeah, guys, prophecy unfolding. Let's see.
Thank you so much. So the weakening of the dollar. Countries are moving away from the dollar. It's too weak. So
weak.
Yeah. So now trade surplus. Vietnam. So here we have another key factor that raises the value of the dong. Key factors that drive currency appreciation. Key factor that drives the value of the currency up. Trade surplus. Vietnam had a trade surplus just with the U.S. alone last year of $123 billion. And the U.S. had $123 billion deficit. Wow. Vietnam had a trade surplus with all of their trading partners. Vietnam, every country was a lick for Vietnam in trade.
Facts.
Trade surplus. When a country exports more than it imports, there is a higher demand for its currency to pay for its products. Justification for the Vietnamese dong to go up in value. A persistent trade surplus can cause the currency to appreciate over time. Folks, this is why over the last 25 years, in fact, if you all remember, I'm sure, Peculiar Ram, you remember we showed that the chart that showed Vietnam's GDP growth since 2001.
Oh, yes.
Vietnam is now the fastest growing economy, faster than China. They passed up China. Vietnam's economy has grown over the last 24, 25 years by over 4,000%.
Wow.
I should have shared that chart, but you remember it, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Trade surplus, folks. So investor confidence. This is very, very, very important. to how the dong's value will go up in any country's currency. But we're talking about the dong, diggity, diggity dong right now. Investor confidence, general market sentiment, and speculation can also lead to currency appreciation of the Vietnamese dong or any currency. If investors anticipate a currency will rise in value, they'll buy it now, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm going to read this again. I want you to understand. Investor confidence, general market sentiment, and speculation can also lead to currency appreciation in value. If investors anticipate a currency will rise in value, they will buy it now, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. Peculiar Rand, are you aware that your asset managers, your firm, that they are investors?
Yes.
So this says if investors anticipate a currency will rise in value, they'll buy it. Why do you think they're giving you and the rest of you, the clients in that firm, why do you think they're giving you a heads up? I'm just
Because they want to
question.
fulfill this prophecy.
Exactly. So think of all of the asset managers, the private wealth managers, and tier one bank wealth managers. They're all aware of this. Folks, I'm explaining something to you. When Goldilocks is sharing general market sentiment, and this is going to tie into what we're going to share next when we go to FOREX, or when we're going to go right to FOREX to the dawn. There is what are called market makers. This is a real term. Market makers. Market makers are the investors, the asset managers who have, how can I say this? That they move the markets, meaning they move the value of currencies. Literally. Not only currencies, but market makers move the value on any asset that is traded on the open market. They create the market sentiment. The market makers are the buyers and the sellers of currencies on a wholesale scale. Meaning, for example, I'm going to just use as an example, but you can have a market maker or let's say a asset manager, asset management firm that has $1 billion that they have allocated to buy the Vietnamese dong. $1 billion. They're going to buy let's say they buy the Vietnamese dong. I'm going to just use this as an example, so don't get your panties in the wad, folks, about numbers. I'm just using this as an example. Let's say if they buy the Vietnamese dong, they spend $1 billion and buy the Vietnamese dong at $1. Those same market makers, those investors, have a relationship with sellers who they will sell the dong to them for $1, and they'll buy it and they'll sell it for $2. They buy it at $1 and sell it for $2. These are the market makers. They move the markets. They move rates when there is justification and a foundation to do so. You have buyers and sellers. The sellers will buy it. The sellers will buy the currency. and they'll flip it to the buyers who are waiting. And folks, this is done 24/7, 365 on Forex. This is done 365, 24/7 in every other asset class: gold, silver, bonds, so forth and so on. So, the asset manager that Peculiar Ram and all of you wonderful tribe members have, they all have what are called market makers. They move the value of currencies, literally move the rates. But there must be justification for moving the rates. And they make money hand over fist 24/7, 365. Continue. If demand for a country's currency increases and or its supply decreases, its value will rise relative to other currencies. This is the buying and the selling of currencies on Forex, folks. There is no mythical, magical group person behind a curtain that's going to say, boom, this is the rate, flip the switch and it goes. Don't work like that. Don't work like that. Just imagine the IMF is telling you. The IMF is telling Vietnam, without in so many words, if they just flip the switch, it'll destroy their economy. Therefore, the IMF is saying to float your exchange, your currency's exchange rate and manage it. This is why, see, folks, just think. This came out from the IMF this week, this report, this IMF Article 4 consultation. However, gold and the IMF is suggesting to Vietnam to float their exchange rate. If you recall, Goldilocks has been saying for almost over a year to two that these rates would float. How did Goldilocks know this years in advance? We're going to get into now, we're going to go to Forex. See, we're going to give you a little bit of, in the words, I know how Lady Unique would say it, a little education right now. What I want you all to do, for those that are watching, that are paying attention to this in this screenshot that we just posted into the room, do not, and Goldilocks suggested that I share this on the call tonight. And I said, okay. And I'll be honest with you, I was wrestling with this because I know some of you will look at the exchange rate of 0.0000003798 and you get all confused. So what I want to say is this. For those of you who have your relationships, especially to you, do not. I know if I say do not, you may do it anyway, because you know how you tell somebody don't do something, they do it anyway. But don't even pay attention to this 0.000 number you see. It's irrelevant at this time. Now, folks, this is directly from Forex. The dong will float. There will not be a dropping of zeros. For the dinar, there will be. The dong and every other currency will float. The dinar will revalue to a fixed rate. Again, what you see here in this from Forex is irrelevant. Now, I'm going to share this just to give it a little bit of context so you understand. So to give it a little context so that you all are aware how Goldilocks, Wally, and myself are very familiar with Forex. Goldilocks trades in the open markets. Therefore, Goldilocks has access to any asset to see and the license to see any asset in the open market, including on the Forex market. And relationships with people at the highest level within Forex. Wiley has relationships at the highest level of Forex in the private wealth management world. I don't like to say this, but I'm going to say it quickly. I don't like to talk about myself, but I used to trade Forex for a living. And then I switched from Forex to trading bonds for a living. Therefore, Goldilocks, Wiley, and myself, when we speak on these things, we know what we're talking about. So, that being said, I'm going to give you a quick education on what you see here. You see this chart. And Peculiar Ram, I'm going to ask for your assistance just to get some amens or some or some or some no, I don't. So to see if you see, do you see on the left, you see the Vietnamese dong on Forex, correct?
Correct.
And you see it on the right in Forex, correct?
Correct.
Now, on the left, you see that you see down at the bottom left. So, folks, I hope that you're watching this and you're paying attention. I'm going to try to break this down in layman's terms on Forex to give you an education to understand what's happening with the Vietnamese dong and its rate and its value. And this, what we're sharing with you, is as of last Monday, which was September the 15th. You see at the bottom, Peculiar Ram, the bottom left, 1D?
Yes.
That stands for 1 day. You see 5D?
Yes.
That stands for 5 days. You see 1M?
Yes.
That's 1 month. Then 3M is 3 months, folks. 6M is 6 months. 1Y is 1 year. 5Y is 5 years. Of course, ALL, all. Now, Peculiar, if you look slightly up, you see that rate 0.00038, and then you see that red line going straight across. It looks like a flow of water, but it's straight. The red line going straight across.
I do.
Looks like a flat line, if you will.
Yep.
That, folks, is the historical chart, the historical outlook on the Vietnamese dong going back 5+ years up to 1 day, which was last Monday, the 5th, on the 15th. So this shows the 1 day outlook on the dong, flat line red. 5 days, flat line, red. 1 month, flat line, red. 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, all for the last 30, 40+ years, flat line, red on the Vietnamese dong. See, this is why we've told you folks that with Forex, everything is tracked, everything is traced, everything's recorded, all rates, all currencies, everything is accessible to see. So here we see for all of the history of the Vietnamese dong, it's been dead. Yes. Yeah. Rigor mortis set in to the dong for a long time.
Flatline. Literally.
Flatline. This is directed from Forex. But however, however, because two consonants. Now let's go to the one on the right in green. What this is showing is there's been a change in the movement of the dong and its volatility. This is what is called a cup and handle formation. I'm not going to get into the technical terms, but I'm going to ask Peculiar Rand to follow me on this because she's sharp and she'll get it. You see how in the chart, Peculiar Ram, it looks like cups, not a glass of wine, but cups, like a cup of water. You see it in there. You see, it looks like
Yes.
cups.
Yes, it looks
Okay,
like a measuring cup.
looks like a measuring cup. This cup and handle. This is movement based on market sentiment of asset managers and investors who are buying and selling the Vietnamese dong now more than ever. And as of September the 15th, the dong has gone from red to green, whereby the cup and handle, the cup, let's say at the bottom of the cup is the selling of the dong, and then it goes to the right, and then it goes back up to the dotted line. That's the buying of the dong. Let's go to the far left. I'm gonna start from the far left. If you go to the far left, you see how in the green, you see the far left, the green line goes up,
Mm-hmm.
then it goes to the right flat and goes down.
Mm-hmm.
Just think of when it goes down, that means the selling of it. It goes flat to the right. It's called consolidation, meaning it's uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
And then boom, it spikes up, meaning that there's more buying of the dong. Then it goes down and of selling of the dong. Then it goes flat and then goes back up. It looks like that cup right there. Then it goes up and it creates a new high, meaning a new high in the value of the dong. At the first dotted line, the first green at the dotted line, then it goes to the right flat and then goes down, creates another cup and goes back up. This shows the Vietnamese dong has come alive. As of September the 15th, in Goldilocks' communications with Forex traders and Goldilocks awareness, this is the first time that this has happened with the Vietnamese dong.
Wow.
Went from red, flat line, to now coming to life. This is why, Peculiar Ram, this is why, tribe members, you all are being contacted and being shown newsletters that are showing Asian market, emerging markets that are coming alive, because your asset managers have access to this same data on the Vietnamese dong and any other currency, but they have access to this. Does this make sense?
Makes a lot of sense. We finally see some movement, no more flatlining.
Yes. Now, folks, remember, we just went over the fact that Vietnam met with the London Stock Exchange on September the 15th. Now that I think about it, I wonder if there's any correlation from September the 15th with Vietnam meeting in London with the London Stock Exchange and signing this MOU with the FTSE Russell, and it being the same day that the Vietnamese dong begins to reflect out of the red into the green. I don't know. I just thought about that. Nonetheless, folks.
Sure.
Yeah. So, folks, there's a significance to this MOU that the Vietnamese Stock Exchange, the strategic MOU that was signed between the Vietnamese Stock Exchange and the FTSE Russell on September the 15th. Remember, we are awaiting the announcement whether or not Vietnam will be upgraded to an emerging market status for their stock market by the FTSE Russell. They signed an agreement with the FTSE International on September the 15th. And remember, they met with the CEO of the London Stock Exchange collectively on September the 15th. So they met with the London Stock Exchange, signed an MOU with the FTSE Russell, and they're anticipating to be upgraded by the FTSE Russell to the emerging market on October the 7th, hopefully. Now, Peculiar Ramp, if you don't mind,
Yes.
this last screenshot, can you read the first sentence and then we'll continue on to down to where it says derivatives? But if you could read that first sentence for us, tell us a little bit of something about the FTSE Russell, if you don't mind.
FTSE Russell, a wholly owned subsidiary of the London Stock Exchange Group, is a global.
Oh. Go ahead. No.
Okay.
Go ahead. You're fine.
They're a global index leader that provides benchmarking, analytics, and data for investors worldwide.
Worldwide, yes. So the FTSE Russell, albeit that Vietnam met with the London Stock Exchange and the FTSE International on Monday, signed an agreement with an MOU with the FTSE Russell. And here we have the FTSE Russell is owned by the London Stock Exchange. Isn't that a coincidence?
A big coincidence. The dominoes.
Now you can continue. FTSE Russell calculates.
FTSE Russell calculates thousands of indexes that measure and benchmark markets and asset classes in more than 70 countries, covering 98% of the investable market.
Over 98%. Just imagine, folks, 70 countries, 98% of investable markets around the world. Go ahead.
Approximately $16 trillion is currently benchmarked to FTSE Russell indexes. FTSE Russell indexes are used by asset owners, asset managers, ETF providers, and investment banks to benchmark their investment performance and create ETFs, structured products, and index-based derivatives.
That's okay. You have some wine. FTSE Russell calculates thousands of indexes that measure and benchmark markets and asset classes in more than 70 countries, covering 98% of the investable market, approximately $16 trillion in currently benchmarked in the FTSE Russell indexes. The FTSE Russell indexes are used by asset owners, asset managers like Peculiar Rams, like the Snipers, like Glass Half Fulls, like Tattoo Pretty's asset manager, like so many of your asset managers that have been contacting you on emerging markets, the ETF providers, investment banks to benchmark their investment performance and create ETFs, structured products, and in Peculiar Ram's words, and in the base derivatives. Yeah. So you see the connection, folks. It's all everything. As we say, everything is connected to everything. And for those of you who have your relationships, already with your asset managers. Now you see, especially now, how you are so further ahead than anyone else who believe they are just to wait for a notification and have no asset managers, have no relationships. You are further ahead than anyone else. Sniper, you want to jump in here? I see your hand up.
Absolutely, brother. Good evening.
How you doing? How you doing, good sir?
Hey, Sniper.
And Wiley,
Good.
I'm gonna come to Wiley in a
good.
little second. Go ahead, young. Go ahead, sir.
Freedom, you have put out a lot of information tonight, and I think it's important for a lot of people to really understand that there's certain things that most people look for, especially when it comes to instant gratification. And I'm going to put this in. You brought up something that's real important that people need to understand. when it comes to floating.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the reason why we deal with these institutional firms is because they have expertise. Now, I'm going to give you an
Mm-hmm.
example of what I mean. When it comes to reading charts, there's several different ways that you can look at these things. You
Mm-hmm.
know, the beginner aspect of it is you will look at something that's what's considered to be support and resistance. After that,
Mm-hmm.
after you graduate, you start to look a little bit more and understand candle charts more, a little bit more. That you start to look at, you might go to double tops and double bottoms. You might go to Wyckoff, where you have accumulation and distribution, where you have
Mm-hmm.
markup phases and distribution phases, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those parts that where you start to look at, where you understand a market, where it comes into forex, where you have been at a history in, is you start
Mm-hmm.
to look at things like Elliott waves, where you have momentum waves and correctional waves. And if
Mm-hmm.
your instant gratification is to be able to grab something instantly and say, hey, this is where I feel like it's going to go, you're going to find yourself chasing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Where if
Mm-hmm.
you have
Mm-hmm.
a team of people that really know what they're doing, they're going to be able
Mm-hmm.
to see this market and
Mm-hmm.
identify trends to be able to do what?
Mm-hmm.
To get you out and put you in the right position in other vehicles why something might be stalling for a moment.
Right.
But
That's right.
a plan is where you need to be able to
Mm-hmm.
understand what these markets are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly right. And you are one just like Peculiar Ram. In fact, you communicate almost on a daily basis with your asset managers. Man, I say that plurally, folks. This the sniper has several that he communicates with regularly: text, email, phone, snail mail, pigeon mail, all kind of. The sniper communicates regularly and openly. Sniper
Mhm.
communicates with his wealth managers, his asset managers about currencies. Am I right or am I wrong, Sniper? Because you've shown me the communication in writing. You shared it with me.
I communicate with these guys, and here, whether they're learning things from me or I'm learning things from them, we talk specifically about the topics at hand, and I share things with them, and they share things with me. And they are very aware of these emerging markets, and
Yep.
they are looking at diversifying for their customers'
Mm-hmm.
portfolios. These people are managing billions of dollars. They're not
Yep.
managing, a couple $100. They're looking
Mm-hmm.
at people are looking at them to be able to justify where their money's going, and they are looking at what's happening overall.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, man. There you go.
And
Wiley, you wanna
I like what
oh,
Mike
go ahead.
said. I'm sorry, I just want to
Mm-hmm.
piggyback. I like what Mike
Mm-hmm.
said about
Mm-hmm.
if you're going to be out here by yourself without an asset manager or wealth manager, you're going to basically be chasing the markets forever.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes into what you were saying at the beginning, the desperation.
Mm-hmm. Temptation and
And I forgot
frustration.
the other two, but yeah, the
Tim
frustration, that's
Tim
where all that will
mm-hmm.
come in at.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not prepared with people who, like Mike said, have the expertise to look at the trends and can call it before it happens versus you stressing yourself even more, even after the RV starts, you're still
Mm-hmm.
stressing and in that low vibrational
Mm-hmm.
state because you're
Mm-hmm.
still chasing what you should be at this point attracting at
Mm.
that point
I
with your
like
wealth
that.
managers, so I just
I
want to
like that.
piggyback off that. That was a great analysis, Mike.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Excellent. I love that.
Yeah.
My good man, Wiley, are you able to unmute? Are you?
Hey, good evening, Freedom.
Hey, good evening, good man.
Hi.
Did you?
Hey, Peculiar. Hey, and for those
Hi.
listening this evening, I posted a picture this week that shows you as the individual investor in the center
Mhm,
and everybody you should have in your wheelhouse with your plan. That's
mhm,
what I'm talking about, having a team structured around you that's looking at all of this. And when you have one person to go to and they organize all those other people for you, that's a well
mhm,
structured plan. If you
mhm,
don't have that, you're behind.
mhm. Absolutely. Wiley, what do you think of if we have the beautiful Lady Unique give a little update of what she can share tonight, real quick?
Yeah, if she's willing to, because her, like many others, got called in this week to shore up their plans. These
Mm-hmm.
advisories are like, hey, get in here, come talk to us. We see some movement. We
Mm-hmm.
need to ensure everything's updated. So, yeah, if she
Mm-hmm.
wants to share, I'd love for her to throw her
Okay.
information out
Because
to the
I know
folks.
you worked very closely with her, as always, as you always have. But
Yeah.
this,
Mhm.
when she was called in this week, Lady Unique, if you can come to the floor, please.
Yeah, please do.
Good evening, everybody.
Oh, you hear that? You can hear her smile.
Oh, yeah.
How you doing, young lady?
I'm doing fine. I really am. Um,
Uh-huh.
yes.
You were called in this week. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just to back up just a little,
Mm-hmm.
it was my senior banker, and she reached out, and about a few weeks ago, just did a casual reach out,
Mm-hmm.
and after that announcement and everything, it really blew my mind because I got this invitation to come in for a face-to-face conversation. I'm like, wow, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I had this meeting this week, and what it was um, she speaks in a language that we both understand without saying.
She
Um,
speaks in code.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I understand why we can have these type of conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because of where we are.
Mm-hmm.
However, the meeting that I did have with her, certain things have changed with my plans and my strategy,
Mm-hmm.
and which I had kept her in the loop of. So some other things
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so in this conversation, we did discuss the changes in my strategy, things that I want to do with my assets,
Mm-hmm.
and the plans that I want to do going forward with them. In her words, without me saying, is that um, they are very much, as you share all the time, and Goldilocks does too, um, they are aware of the current status of the currencies and
Mm-hmm.
the market and the values.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have invested in a few more, and which they validated for me
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and also provided me the rate for a particular one that is now showing on their screens. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, they offered me the opportunity to add that to my present account or open a new one. And I said, no, not right now. I think I'll just
Mm-hmm.
hold on to it for now. Okay. So
Uh-huh.
so with that,
Mm-hmm.
the mention was also that they're very much they too are watching the markets, and
Mm-hmm.
um, I will say it like this: in one of your explanations about exit strategies,
Mm-hmm.
that exit strategy has become my entire strategy, and the
Mm-hmm.
way that we were able to discuss that, my banker says to me, without me even, she just brought it up,
Mm-hmm.
that she is, although she's not a licensed advisor, but
Mm-hmm.
she appreciates and understands and glad that I'm going with the strategy that I'm going with,
Mm-hmm.
based on the market, because they too are watching very carefully what's going on. So at the same time with that, they wanted to confirm that I was staying with whom I'm with, and I told them I am. They are also looking to, as I told you, that one company that they want to do they're doing a serious they're doing a serious mop up,
Mm-hmm.
and I did let them know that I will be using them. Um, they will be part of my diversity program project, but they
Okay.
will not
Mm-hmm.
be my mainstream. However, my banker is also advising me. She'll be following up with me within the next 30 days or so, but she wants to keep
Mm-hmm.
everything on they've highlighted my profile and all that kind of good stuff. So everything
Mm-hmm.
is lining up with
Mm-hmm.
them based on what Goldilocks has shared and what you have, are reiterating and helping us understand. It's
Mm-hmm.
lining up.
Mm-hmm.
My management company, my financial advisory and wealth management team,
Mm-hmm.
they sent me, as a matter of fact, I got it yesterday. They had gotten one before, but it's getting more obvious, more
Mm-hmm.
investment strategies and watching the markets.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and I
Mm-hmm.
got
Mm-hmm.
that just the other day. So I did
Mm-hmm.
glance at it. There's like three different one is that there's a webinar video, and then there's
Mm-hmm.
some presentation in like a. I can download the I can download the information and have it as in my own as a document file. It's downloadable. It's a PDF that I can
Mm-hmm.
download.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Hey, Lady
thank.
Unique,
Yeah.
besides talking about your
Mm-hmm.
risk threshold and where your exit strategy where it was and all that, they laid everything out for you, but offer you a job this week, did they not?
Oh, kind of, sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
She's told him no like three different instances in this story.
Right.
Because they
Right.
see what she's got. She rolled in there with straight
Mm-hmm.
clarity. They know it's currencies. They talked about setting up new accounts for some of the new assets she holds.
Mm-hmm.
They know she don't need a job now.
Mm-hmm. Right. But they want her anyway.
Yeah.
But she was very clear with them. You are not my level one. You're level two. I've got
Mm-hmm.
somebody else. You're just an interim.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they are really. I mean, I will say that whomever is now in charge, the wealth management, the assistant vice president of the wealth management firm, her office is right next door to my banker's, and she came in, she saw me, and um, wanted to just follow up, say hello, make sure I had her card and everything. But I have no, she was very fine. I mean, she's been very receptive, and she's done a very good job of staying in contact with me and being pleasant after that. Uh, first, after that, no,
Mm-hmm.
not first, but after that one
And
incident. So,
yeah.
yeah. And so, being that they are being that open and um, and did reach out after I tried not to pay them any attention. so so I'm grateful, and again, thanks to the room, you
Mm-hmm.
guys teaching, and Uncle Wiley's knowledge and sharing,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
the whole tribe. I mean, those it's been awesome, and I can't, like I say all the time, I thank God for leading me to you guys. Period.
Yeah.
So it is
Well,
what it
we're
is.
great.
But yep. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where I'm at right now. I'm just again,
So
I was
this
really
so
surprised.
question, this is the second time your currency was authenticated, but is this the initial firm, or uh, is it the first time that they authenticated your currency,
No,
or
no,
is it
no.
the
This is
same?
it's the same firm
Okay.
that I'm with.
Okay. Okay.
Okay,
Okay. Got
but
it.
I have invested in some more,
Right.
and I took it with me anyway because I saw it
Mm-hmm.
now posted on their site of
Mm-hmm.
exchangeable foreign currencies, and
Mm-hmm.
they
Mm-hmm.
definitely validated it,
Mm-hmm.
and and gave me the rate.
Mm-hmm.
And as a matter of
It's not
fact,
it's not sexy enough right now. The rate.
nah,
Mm-mm. Yeah.
no, but the
There's
point
more
was
movement coming. Mm-hmm.
right, exactly. But at the time, because I've been able to look at that stuff myself, and
Mm. Good.
when I went when I went to my appointment, I had looked at it the day before and checked it again that morning. But when I got there for my appointment, it had rose just a little bit, not much.
Mm-hmm.
But that was again validation of
Mm-hmm.
of this particular one that Goldilocks had even had
Yes.
Yeah,
about 30 days ago.
yeah. So
Hmm
I'm like, whoa.
Goldilocks put out an article about
Yes.
about the certain currency. Yep.
Right, right. And
Hmm
amen. Thank you, Jesus. There it was.
Lady, you should be very proud of how
hmm
far you've come from the
Yes.
lady I knew a year ago.
hmm
Oh, like I said, it's y'all's fault. Thank you. I appreciate it. I
Yep.
really do.
Now
I really do.
you took that advisory we gave you, you put it into action, and you made something happen for yourself. You are now leading the charge in your own destiny.
Well,
That's
thank
right.
you.
That's right.
Like I said, thank you.
You should be very proud of yourself. You've come a long ways.
Phew. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
And Sniper Mike, nah, that bro Mike, oh my God, following just listening to him sometimes I'm like, oh goodness, okay. So it's it's a fantabulous tribe. I mean, peculiar. I mean, what can I say outside of we can learn from off of each other, even the stuff that different levels of where you're at and what you're going and what you're trying to achieve. Just
Mhm.
hearing everybody sharing their stories
Hmm
and you get ideas, like,
Right.
oh man, maybe I'll try that. Oh, wait a minute,
Absolutely.
yeah. And so that's what makes it such a unity. That's what
hmm
makes it, as I call it, a family tribe
hmm
and of the real deal. Okay.
hmm
Yes, and I got my education. Thank you very much.
And your receipts back.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. But I really do. I
Beautiful.
really do appreciate all of
Beautiful.
it. Love
Yes.
you guys. I do.
We
Love you,
love you as
sis.
well. We're proud of you all. All right. Wiley, anything else you want to add? Take us out of here?
No, I'm good, Freedom.
Good to
Thanks for
go?
having her come on and talk to
Yes,
people
indeed.
tonight because it just shows the
Hmm
validity of having a plan, having these people in your corner, and
hmm
getting this thing because now you have a team looking out for you that's going to be calling you not waiting for things to happen. They're
Right.
making things happen for her.
That's right.
Very important. You're so far ahead of the game.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
Oh, I want to add this too, Freedom Fry, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
The one astounding thing to be as we were closing up the meeting that I had the other day.
hmm
Um, they said to me, and I pretty much let them lead the conversation, and I just would chime in. But
hmm
the comp the what was said to me is as soon as you're ready, call immediately so we can set up your private exchange meeting, your transaction. That's what she called it.
Mm. So
He
they
said
said
it's
call immediately to set up your private exchange transaction.
mm-hmm, like when I'm
Wow.
ready, when I'm ready,
hmm
or because she
hmm
kept reiterating about the market
hmm
and um, indirectly the mention of the IMF. However, she said,
mm
"You hear something, you as soon as you're ready." So
hmm
she's waiting. They're
hmm
waiting for me to say yes. They're not going to. Oh, she may, but she did
hmm
put it on me that
hmm
when I'm ready
hmm
to
Because
call
did
her
you or did you
immediately.
not tell them some of your thresholds of where you wanted
Right.
Yes,
to do a little
yes,
exchange and then maybe structure some outstanding debt you want to get rid of before you go in again and really do some
right.
more? Yeah, okay.
Yes, yes, yes.
So
That
they have some where your risk aversions and risk thresholds are, and they have an understanding of where you're at, but they didn't want to push you. But don't be surprised, young lady. They start calling you. Are you ready yet? Are you ready yet? How about now?
hmm
well, like I said, there are some priorities I need to address first. I don't. I called it. I don't want to be one and done. I want
hmm
to, as the markets float, and as
And,
I
and and if you would please, because this is very important, and this goes back to the double dipping nonsense that goes around and all this.
mm
What did they tell you to your plan? What did they say when you acknowledged, hey, here's what I want to do?
Oh, she said excellent. She was very. She said, she said that she said I love that plan. Um, I can't tell you what to do or how to do it, but she said, but that is. She gave me kudos for the plan, and it's operable. She said that's a good strat. She called it a strategy, because I said that was my strategy. But she was very um, open to it and very um, proactive and cooperative, understanding, and had her. I mean, she was taking notes.
Because you know
So
what she understood by you saying that to her? You have a
her
plan. You're
plan,
not going to
yes,
be rushed. You know what you need to do. And to her, she's like, this is somebody who's going to be a good steward. This is somebody we're going to have as a client for a long, long time.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I, thanks for you guys helping me understand that.
And for folks listening, just so that you understand what Wiley and Lady Unique is referring to when she talks about her plan, folks, what she's talking about is um, that she will. She's when she says she's not going to be one and done. What she's saying is that she's not going to rush in and exchange all of her currency at one time.
Right.
What she's saying is that she's going to exchange some currency now and some later based on the plan and threshold. And the wealth manager and the wealth management firm is saying that's a good idea. That's smart.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is that what am I?
Yep.
Did I get it
You
correct?
got it. Yeah. You picked up what I put down. Sure enough.
And see, because folks, Lady Unique and Wiley have been communicating. He's been mentoring her very heavily behind the scenes, and so some of this stuff I'm hearing for the first time, and I'm just picking up what she's putting down. Because Wiley mentioned about the misnomer about double dipping, and Lady Unique is talking about having a plan, I immediately knew. And when she said she's not going to be one and done, think about what you all have been told, that you only have one chance to exchange your currency. That's not how Forex works, folks.
Take a little
It's,
now, take a little next week, take a little 2 months from now.
yeah.
And invest what you do. That's my plan. When I do what I do,
Yeah.
because of my own personal, some things that are going on personally, I want to be able to do what I need to do, and then take some of that and invest in that. As that's growing, and then as next market, whatever it goes, then I may come
Mm-hmm.
back again. And depending on again how the market flows. However,
Right.
I have a very personal priority that I have to take care of first.
Mm-hmm.
But when I do
Yeah.
what I do, and
Mm-hmm.
then whatever's left, and invest in that and watch that grow,
Mm-hmm.
then go back again and whatever the next thing. And what really helped understand that is when we started talking about exit strategies, and what made it really, really clear. Freedom Fighter was that day you was talking about going down the highway and taking different exits to get back on, stuff
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
that helped me understand. I thought well, I thought in my mind, oh yeah, I understand what that means. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, it means that. So I retweaked a few things, and that's what helped me get to the strategy plan that I have now.
And now you
Yeah.
understand the importance of why we couldn't go do this for you. You had
Oh
to
yeah,
learn the money mechanics and you had to learn some things on your own to figure out what was best for you in developing your plan.
Right.
exactly. And I will encourage everyone. I encourage you all. Don't, and I'm not saying that you haven't, but I just want to help influence and help motivate. Have a plan. Have a strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Don't. I will just say you do what you need to do,
Mm-hmm.
but be sincere about what you're doing. Don't just say, "Oh, I'm gonna
Right.
do this. Okay, I got this. I'm gonna do it like this." Think about it.
Right.
Think about it.
Exactly. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank
Yes,
you all.
indeed.
Thanks, Uncle Wally. Thanks, Freedom. Hey,
You're welcome.
kill your ram, girl. Hey.
Hey, girl.
All right, beautiful folks. Thank you all so much, folks. Again, make sure you have a plan. If you don't, we encourage you to go into the Goldilocks QFS Dialogues room, do your research, go to the Goldilocks Global Banking News podcast. You can go to the playlist where there are calls where we've touched on what you need to do in order to establish a plan and establish relationships. The room is no longer a room where we communicate to give you the guidance, but the history is there where we've already given it to so many, like folks you've heard tonight and many others who are already set and not waiting um, for some notification. All right, folks. Everyone have a good night. We love you. Be kind. Be well, folks. We'll see you next Saturday. Have a good night. Take care.
Good night.
Good night.
Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the #1 source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance and get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter.